changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration to make you simply happy. It's Tip Tuesday, and with Father's Day coming this weekend, I want to share a very funny story about what happened when a father and his little daughter visited New York City and her favorite stuffed animal named Bunny went missing. This story was published in Chicken Soup for the Soul Parenthood, which was a really fun book that we made for mothers and fathers. The story is by Jeff Davidson, who is a well-known writer who we were fortunate to have as a contributor to that book. Jeff wrote about a father-daughter trip that he and his 7-year-old daughter Valerie made to New York City. They were going to visit Jeff's sister, and they were very excited about it and planned it months in advance. The big day in early December finally came, and their flight was uneventful, and when they got to LaGuardia Airport, Valerie was still clutching her favorite stuffed animal, which was named Bunny because that's the kind of name that a little kid gives to her favorite stuffed animal. Valerie went to the ladies' room while Jeff waited right outside, and then they got into a taxi and headed into Manhattan. About half an hour into their trip, Valerie said, "Oh no, I forgot Bunny." She was pretty sure she left her animal in the ladies' room. But Jeff explained that if they turned around and went back, Bunny probably wouldn't be there anymore anyway, and they would be late to meet Valerie's aunt. And if someone had turned Bunny into the lost and found, Bunny would still be there when they returned to the airport at the end of their trip. So his logic was there was no point going back right then. By the way, this happened in 1997. So Jeff didn't have a cell phone. He couldn't call his sister to say they would be late, and he couldn't call the airport and ask if the lost and found had received a little stuffed animal. Valerie broke into sobs, which is what any 7-year-old would do when faced with the loss of her favorite stuffed animal. Jeff was at a loss. There was no comforting her, and his impeccable logic had not earned him any points. To his dismay, she continued to weep uncontrollably for the rest of the cab ride. But she brightened when they met up with her aunt, although that didn't last long, because when they got to the top of the Empire State Building and Valerie looked out at the giant city at their feet, she must have been overcome with fear for Bunny's ability to survive in the big bad city because she started sobbing again. One long elevator ride later, they found a bank of phone booths on the ground floor of the building. Valerie spoke to her mother about the loss of Bunny, and Jeff on another phone called LaGuardia Airport and tried to find the lost and found. But there was no one general number that he could call to ask to be connected to the lost and found, so he put quarter after quarter into that payphone, trying to be the hero dad and find somebody he could talk to about the lost Bunny. Meanwhile, Jeff's wife had called the manufacturer of Bunny to see if she could buy another one, but alas, they no longer made that model of stuffed rabbit. The next day was Saturday, and Valerie managed to hold it together pretty well, but she did break into sobs a couple of times over her missing Bunny, and poor Jeff, the dad who was supposed to be thrilling his daughter with their fabulous trip to New York City, was now just trying to live through the weekend. He felt awful. The whole weekend was wrecked by the loss of Bunny. Even though on Saturday they took a tour of the city, they climbed to the top of the Statue of Liberty, and they picnicked in Central Park. Finally, Sunday came along, and the ordeal was almost over. They actually went back to LaGuardia hours early so they could look for Bunny. They checked the ladies' room, no Bunny there. They searched everywhere, and finally, they found the official Lost and Found office. But there was no one there either. It was, after all, a Sunday. Jeff was almost afraid to look there anyway, because if Bunny wasn't there, he was really in trouble. But then a woman emerged from a door in the back of the room, and Valerie eagerly told her about Bunny, and the woman took her down the hall to a closet where, wonder of all wonders, Bunny was sitting safely on a shelf. Jeff was so relieved. Now he was not the worst father in the world. Bunny was found, and Jeff's relationship with his daughter and his wife was intact. I think we all have a bunny story. I remember when my daughter left her white bunny in the white sheets on her bed at Disney World, and housekeeping whisked them away with the sheets. We never saw that bunny again. And then there was the time that my son left his dog, named Slobber Dog, at a store, and we had to wait a whole weekend to get the dog back. That was memorable, too. For some reason, we feel so responsible as parents for our children's happiness. Jeff wrote that his daughter Valerie basked in the happiness of having her bunny back. And as for him, he could only sigh in relief and end his story by saying, "Grace happens, bliss happens, bunnies return." I'm Amy Newmark. Thanks for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. Come back tomorrow, which is Flag Day in the U.S., for an incredible story of patriotism. You'll hear what happened when a couple of Air Force service members were stuck for hours waiting for assistance while holding up a very large and heavy American flag so that it wouldn't touch the ground.